Hey everybody, we're back. We've got Erik Brown, Beverly Hills real estate agent, and my friend, Anthony Capobianco, the mortgage expert. Today, talking to you about lollipops and purchase agreements, real estate by the numbers. Crazy things. So Anthony and I were just talking a little bit about what is a typical purchase agreement like in California, and there's a lot of numbers that are very specific with it. So as an example, when you first submit a purchase agreement, Anthony, why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Well, purchase agreement definitely depends on whether or not it is going to be a condo or a single family, because that will give us an idea of how long it's going to take to close. A lot of people call in and say, hey, I have a condo, I want to close in 15 days. It's not realistic because we have to look and order to make sure that the condo is approved on the condo project.
What Anthony means by that is it takes a certain number of days to be able to close based on financing. You may be a cash buyer, you may be a finance buyer. Now, typically, if you are using financing, you're going to be looking at a certain number of days for that financing to be able to be completed. I have found it is typically 30 to 45 days to be able to complete the financing for that. Now, Anthony may say something slightly different. There's also, beyond the financing piece, even before that, when you get an accepted purchase agreement, you're looking at getting escrow funds accepted or delivered. So those escrow funds, I think that you'll find generally, especially in a California purchase agreement, are going to take a certain number of days. That number of days, I have found, is in California is 2 days. The days go on and on, but these are your first two that you're going to bounce for. Now, what's so interesting is more so on the financing piece, Anthony is going to jump in and tell you a little bit about this idea of contingencies and what those mean in a typical purchase agreement. Anthony Capobianco.
Thank you, Erik. Well, contingency days generally are, right now, we figure about 14 to 21 days. Erik, why don't you take it from here? Back to Erik.
Beyond financing contingencies, you'll also have inspection. Now, I look at these a lot as a get-out-of-jail-free card. So not every purchase agreement is going to be using contingencies, either inspection or in financing. But if you are using an inspection contingency, you're going to be looking at generally somewhere between 0 and 14 days. Now, you might find that you don't use an inspection contingency at all, or you might find that you want an extended window to be able to complete your inspections. Now, here in California, those might be things like geological, termite, pool, general inspection, plumbing, mold, etc., etc. All of these are inspections that will fall within those X number of days. Now, we talked a little bit about financing, we talked a little bit about inspection. Now, your last, if you are using a loan to purchase a home, there's one last item. Now, it's a very specific term that is called a condition to close or a commitment to lend. I'm going to have Anthony give you the definition of that, and we'll share with you the number of days.
Commitment to lend is going to be in the purchase agreement depending upon the actual closing date. So we have a commitment time we're supposed to close, and it is listed again in the agreement. Generally, that time frame is anywhere from 21 to 30 days. Erik, let's take it back.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with lollipops? And this is a critical question indeed, because some people may argue that it takes nothing. Anthony and I just happen to know how many licks it does take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. And I'm going to tell you that it's a little bit more and a little bit less than what you might be thinking of. If you have a best guess, now's your time. And if you don't have a guess, I'm going to tell you, it takes not 142, not 143, but 142.18 licks to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. Who knew? It's pretty amazing. So now that you have all of your fun facts about the typical real estate purchase agreement, not only from a financing standpoint, but also from a real estate standpoint, you might find yourself having some questions. And if I think that you're ever going to have a financing question, thank you, Sean, for saying that I have a nice stash. I appreciate it. Outside of that, if you've got a financing question, I want you to talk to one person, and it's that guy. If you have a real estate question, I'd like you to talk to one person, and it's this guy. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Anthony, thank you for joining me to talk about the most important things in life, which you can decide if they're purchase agreements or if they're lollipop centers.
Thanks, everyone, and thank you for having me.
Until the next time, my friends.